Joy for everything, beautiful beings. Joy for all things, beautiful hearts. My name is Sierra Clark. It's mine's truly, yours maybe. Um, this is the episode of Free Water Friday. So, Free Water Friday is just an intentional time that I set out to water us. It's a highly concentration of watering, which I just say is just a time set out to get you to think, to possibly maybe get you to raise your consciousness, or maybe to tap into a different awareness that you didn't know. And so that's what Free Water Friday is about. And it's designed to be titled Free Water Friday because we need water. You're made up of 87% of water. Then also you require to intake water, and then also you need water to grow. Water will help you bloom. And so it's just, again, a higher perspective, a higher way of you thinking. It is raising your frequency, it is supersizing your consciousness, whatever it is that you want to say. But it is here so you don't do thirsty things, so you don't do low vibrating things, so you don't keep copy and pasting old outdated things into the life that you say you want to live. That's what Free Water Friday is about. It could be whatever you need it, but it is an intentional time set out for you, for you, for you, for you to be reminded, for you to know that you know, or for you to know something that you didn't know. Because it hit me today that I talk about limited beliefs. And I had limited beliefs when it came to Sierra, but not just because I chose to have limited beliefs, and not because it was something that I woke up every day and just say, oh, I'm going to limit myself. Oh, I'm not going to believe in me. Or, oh, I'm going to be excited about not feeling good enough. No, it doesn't happen that way. And often, sometimes, in those people who have communities and places to where they talk about limited beliefs, much like mine, it's almost talked about as if it's just something the person is choosing to do. Now, don't get me wrong. We'll get to that part later. As if it's something that someone's just choosing to do to just limit themselves. I'm almost certain that a person isn't just mindful that what they are currently doing is stopping them from having the life that they're complaining about. It's stopping them from having the desires of their heart. And oftentimes, that we're living out this life, we're doing this life, and we don't even know that we are the weapon formed against us. A lot of us are unaware. I was unaware for a long time. I was the weapon formed against me. I said last night on From Pieces to Masterpiece, did you attend From Pieces to Masterpiece? If not, you missed a great time. We had a great time. And so, um, but From Pieces to Masterpiece, I lost my thought. But so for a long time, I didn't know that it was okay to think different. I didn't know that it was okay to feel different about me due to the cards that life had dealt me, which was out of my control, which had nothing to do with me, which I didn't ask for. You didn't ask for. You didn't ask for the life that you were born into, right? We didn't get to choose our parents, although some say that we do choose them. Either way it go. Um, Certain things, the words that people said to you, how people treated you, what people did or what people didn't do, wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't up to you. But we as children, unaware of this greater concept, unaware of this higher thought, don't know that even our parents' love can feel like damage. Don't know that just because the adult people who gave birth to us that they don't know everything, and that the people that we might even want to love us a certain way might be incapable of doing it. We don't consider those things. We don't think about those things. We, as little humans, think that the parents who gave birth to us, the ones that gave us life, is now responsible for looking after us. That when they are unable to do that for whatever reason, I call it human conditions. So when they are unable to make their love feel like love due to their human condition or due to them not being aware, because again, your parents are human who make mistakes, who have hopes and dreams, but also who was once a child. And maybe the way you're feeling could also be the way that they felt when they were a child. And if they did not address that, if they did not know that it was okay to address so that they could change to change the outcome, so then when they did give birth to you, that they could facilitate you or handle you a different way. And when the people who give birth to us that we title as parents don't do those things, their love could feel like damage. And so the point of this Free Water Friday today is to get you to maybe change your perspective on your parents, because maybe you were given to the parents. Did you think of that? Did you think of that? Like, I think if my mother had a different daughter than me, because we have my sister. So if my mother had a different daughter whose heart was not like mine, who didn't feel the way that I felt, then maybe she could still be struggling with her human condition called crack cocaine, called cocaine, whatever you want to call it. So, and had she had a different daughter who only was angry because her mother couldn't be there for her, who wouldn't take the time to intentionally put her feet in her mother's shoes so she can understand her mother's side of the story, so she can understand what this woman might have gone through as a little girl before she became a woman and before she became my mother. So she was so many more things before giving birth to me. And yet, when we give birth, or when we give birth or someone has given birth to us, we don't consider the fact that this individual had a whole life, had a whole something before even we came in the picture. And oftentimes it's not thought about. Oftentimes the pregnancy happens and it wasn't necessarily something that was planned, although some people do plan. But you can still plan to have the baby, but you can't be prepared for the real life that's going to come. You can definitely be as prepared as much as you can be prepared, but you don't know how you're going to react about a thing until it is actually knocking on your door. You don't know how you're going to show up for that knock. And a lot of people can say, oh, I would have did this and I could have did that. And you don't know nothing. You won't until the knock knocks on your door. And in that moment, how you show up really says what it is that you know. What it is that you know, and not what you don't know when you ain't never experienced it. It's easy for you to tell a person how to do something when you ain't had. And not to say that limited beliefs isn't a thing. But what I realize is that there was absolutely a narrative. There was absolutely agenda. There was absolutely a program, a system, a thing set up to help me be limited in my belief. And that's a real thing. That is a real fact. In spite of my amazing capabilities that I have, because we are magical, supreme gods and beings, and and all of these great things. We are. And although with that being a fact, and although with that being a real stinking thing, there was still an actual fact that there was something intentionally set in place for me not to believe in me, for me not to love me, for me to hate me. So the fact that absolutely plays a part, it plays a role that can't be overlooked. It shouldn't be overlooked. And now, us who now are awake and now who got it together overlook that fact, or they don't want to incorporate that. But that's absolutely incorporated. And it would do myself a disservice, which I've been doing myself a disservice for over 20 plus years, because I never considered that. It's a part. If you put too much salt in something, you can try to ignore it because you don't see it, right? The salt disappears, it dissolves, but guess what? You're going to taste it. Your food will be salty. Your food will be salty. So, this thing that was systematically placed in the world, in the system, for people who look like me is a real thing. It's a real thing. And that's not to take away from the fact that I got a real power that lives on the inside of me. But I also want to be honest about what is actually real, because facts don't lie. And I don't mean the ones that they gave us in the history books when I was a little kid. I don't mean the propaganda that they show us on the television. I don't mean the half behind story that they gave us about history. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the real facts of who we are as indigenous and dark carpet color skinned people. And because that was watered down, because that was lied about, because that was made to make me feel that something was wrong with me. Hence why my family and the people we call parents and the people who governed us and wanted to love us was loving us in the fashion that they did. Because a real live thing happened, and it genetically does something to us. Because we are frequencies and because we are energy, energy can be passed down. Energy is a vibration, and one thing can be felt for centuries to come. And they figured this out, right? Hence why they knew that fear would do a thing. They knew how if they strip parents away, if they strip husbands away from the wives, that wives would now obey and be obedient and not speak up and not do a thing. Limited belief, limited mindset, limited heart sets. And again, I don't say those things for us to now in the present day, for us to know all that we now know, that we know, for us to use that as an excuse. But I also don't want to water it down like it's not fucking truth. Yes. And in communicating and wanting to help and wanting to make these laws and wanting to do all these things that we are now trying to do, but yet we want to overlook the truth and the fact of the matter about these things. And again, I now know that I can be deliberate a creator about my reality. But even in being a creator in my reality, because I live in this world where my reality is, there's still a limitedness. It's going to, because the color of my skin automatically intimidates certain people, that I'm not gonna get the same fair treatment like some other people do. And that's a real thing. And that don't take away of the realness of what I can think and feel, but it takes away of the realness of the world that we live in. And although I can manifest my own because I'm a universe all in myself, but in the universe that I am, I also loop with this place that we call life. I'm also here in this space that we call our home and our community and our life. And there is small fine print here that limits me to even be me, no matter how bad or how amazing I am as being a manifester or a creator. There is an opposing force outside of the natural opposing force, because there's natural opposing forces. It's a part of the circle of life. Life is just happening. But then there's also other things that have been thrown into play that if you look at the numbers, it would tell the truth. And the numbers that they tried to cover up, if it wasn't gonna affect their agenda or their I think their agenda, then why cover it up in the first place? Why just not let history be told as it was actually made, and not for you to try to cut up, copy, paste, remove, dilute so that it can look a certain way? And in the way that you made it look made me as a copper colored skin female feel some type of way about who I am. And so without knowing, I had a limited belief about me. Because it's a real thing. But yet, in that limited belief, we can come together now that we know that we know that we know that this thing exists. That thing, although as much as we can still go out and produce and make, because that's how magnificent we are. Because even with those things set in play, we can still go out, produce, make, manifest, grow, and do all these cool things. We can still do that. But why and not to live in the past, but if we're going to learn from the past, it should be addressed. If we're going to be this melting pot of all these different creations and things, then we might want to know the truth so we can really facilitate the environment to work for us and not just work for one group and one set of people. This is a Free Water Friday. It's a Free Water Friday. It is really to get you to change your perspective. It is to water those parts of you that need some watering. It is to get you to do something so brand new that your fears can't even swim in that environment, that your insecurities can't even believe there. I mean, your insecurities can't live there. Yeah, so that's that. This is this Free Water Friday. This is an intentional time to get you to think. Martin Luther King has a quote, and it's funny again, right? Out of all the quotes that we've seen in schools and all the quotes that are on things when they so-called are celebrating the Black history, and they give us Martin Luther King, right? They give us all these quotes, but there's a quote from Martin Luther King that, let me see if I can pull it up for y'all real quick, and then I'm gonna let y'all go. But it is said that we got to do the hard thinking, and we don't want to do the hard thinking. And then and almost but so anyways, out of all these quotes, because out of all our Black history that y'all gave us, that you decided to give us, yet it was still only the parts that glorified them and watered us down and made us seem incapable, constantly keep making us feel, make us seem ignorant. Because If our children are going to your school system, don't get me wrong, like it could start at home. It should start at home. But if our children are going to this place where social studies and world history and things are supposed to be given to them so they can be um productive parts of society, or so they can know the truth of where they come from, because how do they know where they're going if you lied about where they came from, right? But then yet y'all gave us a savior, but you lied about who we were to intentionally cover up the part that we play in history, the amazingness about us, but you gave us a savior. Something to really think about. Because if they were going to give us a savior, then why lie about who we were? Why not really let us be saved and not take away pieces of history, pieces of the truth? And so, in them giving us history once a month, when history is every day, and that's a whole nother subject. Yet, out of all the quotes of Martin Luther King that I've heard as a little person, even as an adult, I have yet to hear this one that I'm about to read to us. And again, if we weren't going to be limited, then why choose the quotes that you choose? Because I think that this is a good quote. I would have liked to known this at 6 years old, at 9 years old, at 15 years old, at 22 years old, at engage in hard, solid thinking. There is almost a universal quest for easy answers and half-baked solutions. Nothing pains some people more than to nothing pains some people more than having to think. I would have liked to know that, because then I would have known the importance of my own thoughts. I would have known the importance of me asking questions and wanting to really know. Like, I didn't question, like, I really thought that this land of liberty, um, from the mountainside to the valley low, where freedom is supposed to ring, was really for everybody. I thought it was designed for everybody, and it's not. So this is where we as a people, and I don't mean the color of our skin, because what is written in the fine print and what is happening to humanity, to human beings, has affected now everybody. It has now affected everybody, but there was definitely a time to where one particular human race was affected. So we can now come together, because now that we know that we know that we know, we could come together and we can make a change. We could come together and we can be that change. We could come together and the change can start with us. It's up to you. That's your free water. You can drink of this cup or you can push it away. It's up to you. But don't do thirsty things. Don't be crying and moping and groping about how your life is if you're not willing to change. If you're not willing to do the hard, solid thinking, and you only want half baked solutions, then trust me, life has no problem with giving it to you. Don't you see? It has no problem with giving you half of the story. Don't you see? Don't you see? It has no problem with lying to you about even how great you are. So if you aren't willing to do the hard, solid thinking, like Martin Luther King said, and you're only looking for the easy answers, if you're not looking to, because for me, it's for a long time, I didn't want to hurt people's feelings. But the truth hurts. The truth changes your perspective. So it doesn't really hurt you, but it does take you out of that narrative and it gives you another one. And that's what we describe as hurt. That's what we describe as painful, because what you thought was real was now altered. So you can either settle for the half-baked, easy answer solutions, or you can get to thinking. You can get to dreaming. You can get to being. You can get to watering yourself so that you can water others. And then nobody's thirsty. And then nobody's thirsty. And then if somebody is thirsty, then we can offer water. You can offer water, and then you could do that just by the way you live. Your lifestyle alone will help somebody. Be great. That's the message. That is your Free Water Friday. Don't do thirsty things. Don't just settle for easy answers and half-baked solutions.